We're live. Welcome to another episode of the Superhero Podcast, everyone. Today we have a very, very special guest, Tessa Woodfield, a private coaching client, a Real Meal Revolution coaching client, and a member of Real Meal Revolution for a year and 3 months. Tessa,
Yeah, since November 2019. So yeah, 3 months into
welcome.
my fourth month. Yeah.
Welcome. Now I know you're nervous, so we're just going to dive straight in. Tell us about before you joined. So I'm going to tell everyone like later, the success results and everything that you've had. But I want you to paint a picture for whoever's listening about what life was like for you before you started trying to transform your health.
Yeah. So the sort of tipping point was when I weighed almost 100 kilos. And obviously I'd had lost weight before and gained weight and lost weight and gained weight. And I had really good times and really bad times. And when I got to that point, when I weighed, as I say, nearly 100 kilograms, I had resigned myself to this being my new normal, that my life would become smaller, my level of activity would just diminish gradually and steadily over time. I'd be able to do less, I'd continue to gain weight. And I remember in that December of, it would have been 2018 then, walking up the path from our to our beach cottage in the Transkei, and it's like lots of steps and stuff. And I had to stop halfway up and catch my breath and heave my fat ass slowly up the rest of the steps. So, and I remember just thinking, this is, and I'm going to try not to swear, Jono, but it may slip
Feel
out.
free.
But,
Feel free.
but I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, this is what it's going to be like, but just getting steadily worse. And I kind of shrugged my shoulders, went and poured myself a drink, ate carbs for days. And and when I got back home in January and I stood on the scale, I weighed 99.6 kilograms. And I promise you, I think I leapt off the scale like I'd been shot, because I thought, fuck, that's terrible. That was not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but that nearly 100 kilograms. I mean, if it had been over 100 kilograms, I'd probably have died of shock. So I just thought, I can't live in that place. I can't be that person. I don't know what I need to do. And then between that time in January and before I joined RMR, a friend suggested I go and see this doctor who would put you on medication to speed up your thyroid and da-di-da-di-da. And I was like, yay, quick fix, here I come. You know, and I dived in. I lost, I don't know, about 4 or 5 kilos in 6 weeks. And I thought, okay, this is the way to go. And then I thought, hold on a sec. I'm not going to stay on this shit for the rest of my life. What happens then? So I canceled my next appointment and I thought I need to find plan B. And then I just farted around. There's the East German diet where you eat random combos of seriously weird food, boiled eggs and grated carrots, cheese, and I can't remember what, but it's just dire. It's like rigid. You can only eat these things in this sequence and whatever. And I'd always lost weight on it before, and I did lose weight, but I was like, that's also not sustainable. You know, I'm going to eat like this for the rest of my life. And so, and I kind of stopped doing that. And then I think altogether in the different things I tried, I probably lost about 8 kilos. But then I was like, none of them seemed sustainable. And I kind of thought, oh, screw it. Maybe this is me now. I just need to keep like grinding away at maybe not gaining any more weight. And then I don't know what prompted me eventually. I think maybe I saw something on Facebook or looked at something that I'd done before. And I just thought, shit, I'm going to give this a go. I want to have lost a little bit of weight before I get back down to the Transkei so I can get up and down that path a little more easily. And so I signed up, and I signed up with Sharon as my coach. And it felt like coming home in a way. I'm very lucky in that I'm not insulin resistant or a type 2 diabetic. So the carb switch off thing wasn't too hard for me. I am aware of carbs and the craving that they put you through, but that's probably more because I'm like fat adapted now. So I'm very conscious of if I do ever indulge in carbs, what it does to me. So I'm like very guarded against any like slippery slopes. But yeah, it really felt like coming home. I mean, I literally got into ketosis fairly easily, and I started losing weight. And of course, then lockdown happened.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And I was like, screw this for a laugh. I'm not getting fat in lockdown because I live alone. And I was just thinking, this is, and I've had like mildly depressive phases in my life before. And I just thought, I am not going there. I'm not giving up. I'm still going to own it. It's going to be me against the universe every day. And I can't say I did it perfectly, but I didn't put on any weight. In fact, I think I actually lost a little bit of weight during lockdown, which was, altogether in 6 months, I may have lost 2 or 3 kilos, but I didn't gain weight, which was huge.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, it was, especially, I mean, you know, that thing where you go and stand in front of your fridge and you're like staring at it thinking, speak to me, like, because you're just bored. You're just
I'm
bored.
I'm
I've been in
sad,
my
I'm
house.
lonely.
Yes,
I'm not hungry, but just give me something.
No, something, entertain me, you know. I don't know. Anyway, and I would just go, oh God, what are you doing? I'd slam the fridge shut and go and jump on my little little round trampoline rebounder things. I've got one of those. I'd go and whip that out from underneath the bed and go and jump on that a bit, just to distract myself. So lockdown wasn't terrible. For me, it was like a huge opportunity to work on myself. I did, I mean, you know, Jono, how scared I am about being open and talking about my weight in real numbers and letting people know how I feel about shit. But that was my promise to myself when I signed up, was that I'd basically been bullshitting myself about my weight and my health and what went on in my head for years. And I have an ability to bullshit myself. I'm a master. I really am. I have all the qualifications and sadly all the side effects.
Yeah.
I really have all the side effects. I had all the side effects of being a supreme bullshitter. I could tell myself a whole bunch of lies about what was really going on.
Yeah.
And I didn't allow myself to see the reality.
Well, so let's talk about that. What was going on? So just for some context for everyone watching, you know, we're talking about the diet program at Real Meal where we teach you how to do keto, and then there's a coaching program where we offer support. And then, you know, one of the things that we say a lot of the time is that only 20% of a weight loss journey is diet and exercise, and the 80% is actually what happens in the mind. And so you're talking now about that 80%, right? Now, tell us about a bit more about that, and then what happened, like what you went through, and what difference it made.
Yeah. So part of the sort of addressing the bullshitting myself thing was to try and understand why I didn't keep weight off, why it wasn't a priority in my life when I had made it a priority at times and I'd been successful at it. And I just didn't get it. I'm not a terrible person. I have as much willpower as the next person because I have lost weight. You know, I didn't get it. And I figured it's something to do with the bullshit I was telling myself. And sort of thinking about it in retrospect, I promised myself that I would volunteer for anything that was asked in mindset sessions on Fridays, so that I could make so that I could try and figure out what the hell was going on. There's one particular, and bearing in mind, I was doing these mindset sessions from the company that I used to work at. So I would have to, yeah, no, that's dire. I would have to book a meeting room and hope like shit that nobody else needed a meeting room, because if I was there on my Pat Malone, they'd boot me out if there's like a group of them. So not only was I doing it in a work environment, but I could at least close the door. And but I was conscious of people through the glass door moving around and like waving at me and like.
And
And
you're
then,
sitting there talking about your like deepest, darkest secrets, and
and I'm
smiling and waving.
yeah, sweating bullets, honestly. And I mean, I had real fear in those moments. I really did, because I knew I was going into a place that made me deeply uncomfortable, and I wasn't used to being uncomfortable. The whole point of, it turns out, of how I ended up being so fat was trying to stay safe, comfortable, known, routine, stable, all of those things. So getting uncomfortable was not a happy place for me. And there's one mindset session that I can't remember what the subject was, but I had volunteered, and Johnny, we went deep and dark into all sorts of rabbit holes, and eventually we didn't have Sam beating us out the room at 45 minutes, and I think we went to 1 and a bit hours. I can't remember.
I remember that one actually.
Yeah. And I mean, I literally had sweat trickling down my back by the end of it. I was like, it was hectic. But I promised myself that whenever a volunteer was going to be asked for, I would stick my hand up and be that person and put myself out there. I don't do it so much now, because I think the other people who may be in the same place as I was then that need to stick the hand up.
Yeah, I mean, that's so for anyone who's not sure about the mindset workshop on the Fridays at Real Meal, everyone, whatever program you're on, can join these mindset workshops. So sometimes there are 30 or 40 people in a Zoom room, and whoever's running the mindset workshop asks for a volunteer, and that volunteer gets coached in front of the rest of the audience. So what Tess is explaining is how someone unpacked or dissected her feelings about like a very sensitive issue in front of a whole crowd, and so obviously that's a powerful experience, and understandably terrifying as well. So like, I just found it amazing that the thing that terrified you the most was being visible, and our experience of you is always that you were the one who put your hand up. So we thought Tessa was like the fearless client who would always volunteer, and deep down, and like on the other side, Tessa was like the most terrified out of everyone. So I just love that.
No, it was, as I said to you earlier, brave and afraid is kind of my new normal, which I absolutely love.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what were some of the pennies that did drop, if you can remember? What shifts took place in the mind?
Well, I think the biggest realization for me was how I had used the circumstances of my adult life to isolate myself from other people, like making real connections with people. And not everybody and not all the time, because nobody could live like that. But I isolated myself, made myself very independent, didn't like to ask for help, didn't like to get, I was happy to offer help and be helpful to other people, but I didn't want to need help. I didn't want to need anybody. I wanted to be seen to like be managing on my own, that I didn't need anybody. And I mean, I know now that that is a terrifyingly lonely place to be. And it's no wonder that I ended up having to stuff, I don't know, crap down my throat, drink wine, and watch other people's reality TV, they watch their real lives, because I was trying to avoid mine quite a bit. So, so that was the biggest realization for me. And then unpacking even further into, like, I really think that going to boarding school at a very young age was a very hard thing for me. Just in my personality, I really struggled with it. And so that perhaps was a precursor to it, because I suddenly realized that even though I had my sisters with me, that I was on my own in a way, because I would be in the classroom on my own, or whatever it is. You ended up being on your own in some way, and you needed to be self-sufficient. And I obviously didn't. I felt underprepared for that, or I didn't have coping skills. My way of doing it was to get into my head and just kind of separate. So I think that was, as I say, probably a precursor to my adult response many years later.
So you mean you basically got into the habit of designing your life basically around being alone?
Yeah.
At a young age.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, I don't have an intimate partner. I'm on my own. You know, that is because everything I've done around my life has been about that. So that's.
And so the cost of that is obviously, even though you like handling, the cost is obviously, it's more like the opportunity cost. So what you may have missed, etc. Okay. And now, so that was a big shift. Then obviously you stuck to the diet and did all the practical stuff, the 20%. And what's your experience of life like now? Sorry, there was one more thing I wanted to get out of the past, and that was that you almost weighed 100 kilos, but were you on medication as well?
Yes. So I mean, it's one of the things that really pisses me off is that doctors don't have to be low carb proponents or anything like that, but they should understand metabolic syndrome. Jesus, that is because I mean, I was classic metabolic syndrome. I was on medication for hypertension. I was, they wanted to put me on statins for the last year and a half because my cholesterol was high and I just refused. My waist circumference, which actually is the circumference of my arse now, my waist. My waist circumference was 105. It should be 80 or less. I still haven't got there, but yeah, I'm getting there. 85 is where I am now. What's the other ones? Okay, LDL was. I mean, I know it doesn't factor in, but triglycerides. I didn't actually have a problem in a low carb world with cholesterol until very recently when I went hardcore keto, low carb eating, and as a natural result of that, your cholesterol does go up quite significantly. And I was very fortunate to find a doctor who gave me a second opinion, who is a Banting doctor. And and he really, he was amazing, absolutely amazing. He's on Nutrition Network's list of panelists or whatever. So he's, that really helped me because it calmed me down and I thought, okay, I'm fine. I'm doing this right. So that's the meds I'm on. And I mean, I'm hoping that over time I'll get better and not need them. But yeah. You want to talk about cholesterol or do you want to get to that later?
Yeah, well, we'll get there. I mean, while we're on it. So you told me earlier before we went live, you went to go see your doctor. And you told me about a conversation you had. Maybe you want to just tell that story again.
Yeah. So I go to my GP, who is a low-fat proponent. I love that the standard American diet acronym is SAD.
SAD, it's very sad.
Yeah. So she nearly had a heart attack, and understandably, given her, no, not in real life. When she saw
I was going to say that's a bit ironic, but okay.
No, she nearly, when she, not yesterday, but 6 months or about 8 months ago, I think, because it's all weird because of COVID. About 8 months ago, my cholesterol level was 7.5, which is, it's shockingly high.
Well, I mean, I do remember Tim at one of his talks saying that according to the science that he had found, that 7 for a woman over the age of 50 of total cholesterol was actually like associated with the least risk. So even that is
I'm
debatable.
rocking it then,
Well, so like the standard's below 5 or something, and 7 he reckons is fine. This is not advice, obviously, but anyway. So she saw 7, almost died, and that was like years ago. And now, and then you went back to her.
Yeah, and then she said, and she said to me, you have to start taking these things. I'm putting them on your script. You have to start taking these things. We've got to get that number down. And I said to her, that's fine. You can put it on my script, but I'm not going to take it, and I'm going to seek a second opinion. And she said, okay, well, I'll send you to a cardiologist. And I said, no, I nearly said her name. No, I don't want to go to somebody that you recommend because it'll be somebody who has the same preconceived notions about diet, the approach to diet as you. And I want to find somebody who is in line with where I am. So, and let me tell you that's no easy thing. Hey, so I ended up finding a doctor who I had remote consults with because he was working in Abu Dhabi, weirdly. And And I sent him all my bloods from that time, and he asked for a few more, including the LDL particle size test. And that came back with, I've only got the big fluffy job, so even if you are 7.5, you shouldn't really stress too much. So I was like, okay, sweet, I'm good. And then, so that was 7.5, and I want to say that was like the middle of last year, so 8 months ago. I did my tests again on Monday, and I'm now 5.7, which is epic. And my low calorie person has taken them off my script, which is amazing. Oh, that's amazing.
It's like, and you know that, I mean, I'd love to interview her as well, just to say, so, you know, tell me about this client. I mean, patient you had who you prescribed statins, she didn't take them. She started doing the thing that you say is going to cause a heart attack, and then her cholesterol went down. Like, what do you make of that? And just ask her, like, what do you think, you know?
So when because she always, like, you know, like a teacher puts the stuff in front of you and then shows you like what the readings are. So she puts it across the desk and then she shows me the readings and everything. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I just looked at the total cholesterol and I'm like 5.7. Yes, that's amazing. I'm so chuffed. And she said, well, that's the statins, isn't it? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't take them. She says, but it's still very high. So I said, Beth, shit. We can do this dance, but and you can put the things on my script, but I'm not going to take them. This is how we roll. So, and she said to me, like I said, and I mentioned the name of the doctor that I'd gone to. She goes, oh, the Banting doctor. She says, you know, he's not a cardiologist. And I was like, yes. Shit, do I point out that she's not one either? Like, Anyway, but yeah, I'm very chuffed. So that's huge.
Wow. Well, so here's a total side just while I just finished reading this book called Range. I don't know if I told you. And so they were talking about the difference between specialists and generalists. Basically, the whole book's about that. And like there's a narrative in the cardiologist field that says the annual cardiology convention in the US is the best place in the world to have a heart attack, because, you know, obviously you'll make it. And then they did a study on like what the best days are, like when you're most likely to survive a heart attack, and they found, like, it was conclusive, it wasn't like debatable, that the days of the year where you are most likely to survive, where your odds are best at surviving a heart attack, are the days of the annual cardiologist convention,
because they're not in the hospitals.
Because they are not in the hospitals, and that is because and so the argument he was drawing was that specialists who use this like specialist tool, like they've got a hammer, and so any problem that they see, they look at it through the lens of like, how can I use this hammer? And so they like always put in stents. And so this is in the States. I mean, I don't know if it's for the whole world, but so yeah, sometimes seeing a specialist about issues, especially a cardiologist, is the worst thing you could do statistically. On paper, it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, that's anyway. Dire.
Yeah. So okay, so now Tessa, so the cholesterol's down to 5.7, 5.7, and what is the weight down to? So you were 99, now you're on.
Now I am on 76.
Right, and so there's
4 kgs off my RMR goal. Then I spotted the other day that Bridget in my prescription actually had me on 70, and my BMI to be 29.4 would be 68. So those are kind of the markers I have ahead of me. But 72 for now is what I'm aiming for.
Okay, but there's something else that transformed with you while I've known you, and it's the matter of body image and self-confidence. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there was this moment and so I just want to I'm just going to punt the hero program at the moment. Okay. So Tessa did the one program I didn't mention that Tessa joined was the hero program, which is this amazing group support program where you're in a group of maximum of 5 led by a coach, and Tessa was in my group. And so we were all like, you know, posting photographs of foods and screenshots of our fasting app into the group. I was participating as well. And then Tessa just like has a little boost of confidence. And Tessa, tell us what you did. Bearing in mind, this is coming from a 99 kilo, sort of self-image.
Yeah, so when I went on holiday to our cottage, a lot of people saw me who hadn't seen me probably since last Christmas. And they were all completely blown away by how much weight I'd lost and basically how good I was looking. And I was feeling so amazing. And I think with all of that positive feedback, and you must bear in mind, these are people who've known me all my life. So they've seen me young, old, fat, thin, sad, happy, all of those things. And I was feeling so good about myself. I thought, screw it. I'd watch Steph and the others post pictures of themselves Michelle with her skinny skirt and Steph with her teeny weeny little jodhpur things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do the brave and afraid moment. And as I said to you in the group, it took me about 3 goes, but I took a photograph of myself in a bikini because the beach bod was part of my future self vision board. And yes. I remember that you commented on it when you saw it, when you were coaching me. And I was like, okay, the beach bod has got to be something, because I mean, when I'm down in the Transkei, I'm on the beach in my cozy all day long. And I mean, I haven't been in a bikini for a million years.
Yeah.
So I just took a picture of myself, and as I say, I tried to send it about 3 times before I succeeded, and then I quickly pressed send, and I dropped my phone and I ran out the room. And I thought, I did give Jono a heads up in the background, just saying super like awkward, vulnerable moment coming up, or sweaty palm moment or something. I can't remember. Yeah, and I ran out the room because I just thought, I might try and delete the message or something, or have a change of heart, because it was deeply uncomfortable. But like I said, this is my new normal, is being comfortable with that.
Now, so, I want to give everyone an idea of what we're doing. So I think I'm going to share the screen just to show how great that was. Okay, so first, and just you're gonna have to tell me if this doesn't work. Okay, application window. So this is the photograph. Okay, and so like I wish I could zoom. Maybe I can zoom. There we go. That's Tessa. I don't know if you can believe that's the same person. So that's you. When was that? 2 years ago?
Yeah, probably 2 years ago, maybe 2.5. Yeah, probably about 2 years ago.
Okay, great. Now I'm gonna the next photo, and if you can believe this is the same person, because I'm like, what? Here we go. Please hold, everyone. I can see Tessa, your tan's turning maroon, but it's great. Okay, here we go. Ta-da! How old are you, Tessa? Do you mind?
I just turned 59 a week ago.
59. Okay, so 59 down from like almost 100 kilos, and transformed into being, I'd say like comfortable maybe afterwards, but comfortable sharing a photograph of yourself in a bikini. Like for me, that is, that for me is like the greatest achievement in personal development that I can ever imagine, because there are people who are, who just never ever think they'll ever be able to get there, and there are people much skinnier than you who will have body issues to the extent that they wouldn't even go near a beach even with a caftan on. And so that like really, the first time I saw that, it brought a tear to my eye. I was just so proud. So it really is a remarkable achievement. I can see you glowing. I'm still proud.
Yeah. Now look, I'm really glad that I did it, because it was an acknowledgement to myself, probably more than anything else. But to get the extra validation from the rest of the group was also good, because we all are in the shit together, and it is amazing to be able to have the support and acknowledgement of that. And yeah, it was quite freeing in a ways. Like that person like huddled up on the couch trying to pretend that everything was fine in the first picture just is no more. I kind of look at that and I'm shocked, because I can see how awful I am in my head. Like and it's not so much about what I look like, but I look like I want to disappear. And I definitely don't feel like that anymore.
And so where to from here?
On my health journey, obviously specifically a big part of it is to get to my goal weight and see where I end up. What we haven't spoken about is the fact that in the middle of all of this, I had a hip transplant.
Yeah. And so talk about that and the role exercise played in your weight loss briefly. Sorry, and we'll get back to where you're going next.
No, so I've been struggling with what I thought was my back, and then fondly was referred to as the pain in my ass because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So I was going to a biokineticist, and he was giving me exercises on the assumption that it was a lower back issue, and he was just trying to build up my core, and it wasn't helping. So that took about 3 months and a road trip, or 2 months and a month's road trip, to realize that the pain in my ass was not my lower back. So I ended up getting x-rays, going to see an orthopod who said the only way we're going to fix this is give you a new hip, and possibly two, which I'm going to find out about later today. And I just thought, screw it, do it. Part of my undertaking in the Hero program, the trial program that we did first with you, Jono, was I wanted to lose, I can't remember, 4 kilos or I think it was 4 kilos in the 12 weeks. And I wanted to sort out whatever the issue was with the pain in my ass. So I thought,
I remember that.
If there's ever a time to do it, no, we're in lockdown. I've taken retrenchment, so I have nothing but time. So let's do it quickly so I can get to the Transkei, because it's an 8-hour drive. So I did it. Literally, I saw the orthopod on the Thursday, and I had the op on the Monday. And it was done and dusted. Yeah, and honestly, I think the exercise that I had done, because I really struggled with any form of cardio exercise. Walking, running was simply out of the question. And swimming, not going to the gym, not going to go and swim there. So so walking was painful. So biokineticist, doing that stuff really helped because I could build up my core, and that was a big part of it. And then working with the physio to get myself back. That was a huge help. And honestly, by the end of the holidays, I was actually using my new hip as my lead leg on everything consciously to make it as strong as possible in the event that I have to have the other one done, because it's going to obviously not be able to pull its weight for a few weeks. So, but I'm feeling amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's got less weight to pull now. And so, and sorry, so just to clarify, because a lot of people think that they have to exercise to lose weight, and so you're not the first client I've had who's had surgery. I had another client, Chloe, who is up on my website. She lost 30 kilograms after having like 2 foot surgeries. So she was in bed for like a whole year. And so like you didn't actually have to do any exercise to lose weight. Is that right?
No.
So but exercise still behaves as an antidepressant though, because it still makes you feel
I'm
good.
Very conscious. I'm very conscious of the fact that it's something that I need to find my way back to. But I am doing kind of the rehab stuff for my hip, because it's all about, for me, if I've got hip problems, and I am going to obviously have problems with that for the rest of my life, I need to keep my core strong. And so it's that kind of exercise and stretching and flexibility. I mean, you know, Jono, my things are mobility, flexibility, and stability. That's kind of my aim to when I'm an ancient old crone, that I'm still all of those things.
Yeah, that's great. Like that 88-year-old yoga granny.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if I'll ever be that, but I just need to be happy with myself and be able to do the things that I want to do. So I'm working on that. Yeah.
I don't know, Tessa. I can imagine you doing a 1-finger handstand, you know.
I better lose a shit ton more weight if I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, with upside down, doing the upside down splits, you know, on a 1-finger handstand. So next you're going to, well, what happens now? So so there's potential extra hip, you know, and then what you'll have like 2 titanium hips, which will contribute to the
universe.
life goal. And what else? what happens next for you? How does this story end, or does it end?
No, it doesn't end. It's not about the ending. It's really not about the ending. It's all about the journey, actually. It's the journey, and it ends when I'm dead. That's the ending. Yeah. So the commitment to myself here and is to stay healthy, to keep the weight off. So I mean, that's going to, when I hit my goal weight, like I said to you, I can't remember, in one of our hero sessions, and I said I'm getting nervous about getting close, because what happens then? I've got to goal weight before, but I've always maybe maintained for a little bit and then start going up. And something, I think it was you that said, imagine all the things that become possible suddenly when you are at that goal weight. And it's stuff that I don't have in kind of, other than intellectually, I don't really have in my realm of experience. So
yeah,
suddenly stuff's going to open up for me. I mean, I'm clearing out my wardrobe at a rapid rate, because clothes, I bought a dress in, I think, November or October. I'm thinking, oh, this will be a nice summer dress. And in December, I thought I better wear it, because it must fit me now, because it was a little bit small for me when I bought it. And I put it on, and it's actually too big for me. And when I wore it in, about 10 or so days ago, before I came back to Durban, my sister said to me, Jesus, that dress is huge. What's the story with it?
what were you thinking? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And I mean, the stuff that I bought in 6 months ago, I mean, I don't, if I go to the bathroom, I don't have to undo the zip. I just pull my rods down, because they're so big. Everything's like enormous. So, yeah, so that's, I mean, it's invigorating, like you cannot believe, but yeah, it could be costly in the long run, I guess.
Yeah. But
yeah.
also what's interesting about what you said, if I understand it correctly, is that you said basically the journey never ends. And I think that's really important for anyone who's listening, because the amount of people who I've spoken to on the phone where they're thinking about joining, and they say, and this is not just my program, this is any diet in the world, people say, I just want to come in and I want to find the fastest way possible to lose this weight. Like, I need to tick this box and then carry on with my life, like nothing's like it never happened. I've spent 20 years accumulating this extra weight, and I'm giving you 3 months to take it off me, so that I can like get ready for this party, and then after the party my life will just be perfect and carry on. Like, what do you say about that?
So, John, I think that, and this is something that I really, really do want people to understand, is that there's so much learning that you need to do, and the mind stuff is critical, because if you don't sort that out, it's just a matter of time before you slip back into your old ways. But other than that, the learning about nutrition, I mean, when I think of where I was and losing weight in November and December of 2019, was that right? Yeah, 2019. So right at the beginning of my journey here, I was still losing weight, just doing the basics. I managed to find my way into ketosis, and weight was coming off steadily, but I didn't understand a lot of the dynamics about how that all worked. And I wasn't fasting at all then. And over that more than a year, I've learned so much about nutrition and about how my body works, which I reckon some people are lucky that they have this almost built-in understanding, or they don't mess around with their body so much that it becomes habit for them from an earlier age. I've learned to understand my body, and I understand what works for me. Nutritional ketosis is critical, and fasting is my easy out to maintain it and keep my calories low. And calories are important, but it's not about the calories. It's much more about what I'm eating. And it's interesting, because when I used to be diligent about putting everything into the tracker. So I don't do it that often now, but I try and do it at least once a week on my Tracker Tuesdays. And my calories are almost always lower than my prescription. With going there, I'm having a gem squash with a big fat blob of butter and I'm having cream with my scrambled egg and a juicy chop with the fat on, so I mean, I'm eating delicious food, and I'm staying below my macros, but also below calories. So losing weight is inevitable, even without exercise.
Just to hyper clarify that as well, you're saying that so because they are like mixed reviews. I mean, there's the guy, they're two really well-known guys, Donald O'Neill and Sam Felton. They've both gone on like 6,000 calorie a day diets and burnt body fat. But I haven't seen that happen with clients. I haven't seen that happen with people dieting. And so I mean, I agree with you. And so what, just to clarify what Tessa's saying, she's talking about her own experience. So calories are important. Ketosis is amazing. Fasting works. And I think what you're saying is like, you found that's exactly what works for you.
Absolutely.
The general, what you're also saying is that, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is that you do actually benefit from eating fewer calories than like what your recommended daily calorie limit is. But the easiest way to do that for you is if you're in ketosis. So if you're doing low carb, it's easier to eat fewer calories because the foods you're eating are not driving your appetite. Is that right?
Completely. So that for me has been a huge thing, is that understanding like hunger and satiety. That for me is the biggest learning, other than learning all the keys and levers that work. For understanding myself, it's about understanding what the feeling of fullness and the satiety, because they're two different things. And the feeling of fullness often comes before the satiety. And that's, which is quite interesting. And feeling hungry. God, what joy to feel your stomach grumbling away and thinking, actually, I've still got 4 hours to go. So have another glass of water, have another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And it's, and also realizing, John, I think the biggest thing for me, that understanding that when you've eaten carbs, within 4 to 6 hours, you're probably going to have carb craving because your body's looking for the sugar because it's an easy out. And I mean, for my birthday, I ate all the chips and drank all the champagne. But I was so aware that the next day I was going to be driven to try and find carbs. So I went straight back into a 20-hour fast. And after 20 hours, you switched now from using up all of those carbs. Your body's hunted for all the carbs. Your liver's probably changed as much as it can into sugar for your brain. And now you're back to operating with fat. And the idea that your consumed fat drives the initial energy requirement, and there's a seamless switch from that to your stored body fat. Who wouldn't want that? Honestly, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. So what you said earlier about learning about nutrition, I also want to hyper clarify this just to ram the point home, is that you get people who stick to diets, right? So they're like, what are the rules of the diet? I've done so many diets. The Dukan is this rule, etc. And they kind of like blindly stick to the rules. And in my opinion, that's super unempowering, because you're just at the mercy of whatever the rules are. And then if you break the rules, you're like not doing the diet, and then that's a failure, and then you're a failure, and then you fall off the bus and carry on with your life.
Cycle.
And the difference with what I even hear, I mean, you did say it, but even after you said it, you carried on talking about it. And what's really happened is, instead of just learning the rules of a diet, you've learned the rules of your body, which is much more empowering, because now you're like, okay, I ate the chips and the champagne and whatever, and I'm so knowledgeable and aware of how my body reacts to everything that I'm not on a diet anymore. I'm just doing what's best for my body, and I can, like, in other words, like, I know how to drive this thing,
No, I mean, I know that I need to regulate my response to the indulgence. There's no question about that. And it may sound like I'm a bit up my own arse about it, but it's not that. It's just I've figured out what works for me. It's not going to work for everybody. And as I say, I'm insulin sensitive. Is that right? Yeah. I'm not resistant. I'm not sensitive. So I'm really lucky that, and I'm not a diabetic. My fasting glucose and stuff have never really been an issue at all. So I'm really lucky from that point of view. But I've just learned how my body works. And I know you always finish off all your emails with power. And that's literally how I feel. It's like, I've got this now. Nobody. So I don't think I'd have ever have been brave enough to go against my GP if I didn't feel empowered about being responsible and knowledgeable enough about my own health and my own body to make that decision. Because before that, I'd have gone, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. I knew statins were shit and I may not have taken them, but I didn't understand a lot of the reasons why. So I definitely feel like I have taken my power back, and this is about my journey, and I need to be in control of it. And I feel totally, empowered.
That's amazing. Well, I don't think I could get more value out of you for going after that. So yeah, that's all I have left to say is just like congratulations. I'm in awe of what you've been able to accomplish, and it's an absolute pleasure having you here to tell everyone else. So I hope everyone watching benefited as much as you. Thank you.
No, thank you, Jono. You and your team have been amazing. I couldn't have done it without the support from you guys. It's been amazing. And my fellow Hero Program teammates, they are legends.
Superstars. Yeah, they're all champions. I agree. All right, Tessa, have a lovely day.
Thank you, Jono.
We'll chat soon. Bye.
Bye.